Hello and welcome to another week of WP. Well, the climate change debate continues to rage on, and one activist group is continuing its fight against what it calls a global emergency. Extinction Rebellion remains concerned, claiming life on Earth is in crisis and there's a lack of government action. They campaigned in a new event this week, and we talked to Extinction Rebellion about the event and why they're fighting for change.
Our focus is the very strong link between WA government and industry giants in oil and gas, and that's the reason behind the choice of the Malcolm Street Bridge as our location, because it's a physical link between the two, between Parliament and companies like Chevron and Woodside. You've seen from the recent 350 report that our politicians have got really open ears to big oil and gas, but not necessarily just regular people. So what we're trying to achieve today is that they start listening to the regular people on what they actually want.
What do you want to see being an outcome of today's event?
I want to see the government take notice. I want them to have a response to it and say that they can see that there are just so many people who want change. We want change now, and we're going to do whatever we have to get there.
There's a fairly decent crowd here, people from all walks of life. Are you heartened by the turnout today?
I am, but I think we can't stop here. It has to be bigger than that. They've said to me in Parliament that, we listen to the people, so listen to us. But what they're talking about is they need thousands. They need, many thousands to get out there and get active, and that's what we need, because we can't just sit still. With the election coming up, now is the absolute time to get out there and let the government know that they're not going to get your vote. Yeah, Mark, you did all right with COVID, but there's more to it than that. We've got a bigger problem ahead of us with climate change and so many other issues related to that.
One of Extinction Rebellion's calls is for a citizens' committee of people to advise the government on climate policy. Can you see a legislative way forward for that in WA?
Absolutely. One of my staff works with a woman who's done a lot of deliberative processes over the years. She's worked with Lana McTiernan on this, so she knows how they work and she understands them. What we need is a deliberative process, citizens' assembly or something like that, where we get just the average people out on the street, somehow randomly taken from those who want to be a part of it, to come and advise the government. It's being done in other countries, it's being done in other jurisdictions, and we should be doing it here.
Something I find interesting about the idea of the Citizens Committee is that it's ordinary citizens over scientists or activists. Can you explain the reasoning behind that? Should we be looking at scientists instead?
Oh, no, it's all involved in the process. The idea of the Citizens Committee, or in Belgium, they've done it as a separate parliament running alongside their own parliament. And the benefit of this is that the citizens come together and then they work through the process. So they say, oh, we don't have enough science on this. Bring in this scientist. And we haven't heard from this group that says, no, just leave it as it is. Let's see what their reasons are for that. Let's bring everybody in, we listen to them, we deliberate, we go through a facilitated process where we come up with the right answer, the solution that we can all live with and that can bring us forward into the new world, the new normal.
The name of today's rally is Love and Rage. Are you raging today?
I'm absolutely enraged today, and I am so pleased that there are other people that are saying the same thing. It's very hard right now. There are so many different things to be outraged about, and we have to be collectively outraged about all of them, it seems, just to be taken notice of. So yes, lots of rage, lots of love as well, because these are my people. I like being with people who care about the environment, about our future, about our children, and so forth.
Diane Evers, thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks for your time too.
And now, AMA-WA President Dr. Andrew Miller has this week's update on COVID-19.
Hi, thanks for your time. It's been an interesting week in Western Australia with congratulations due to Zach Kirkup being elected unopposed as Leader of the Opposition. Really important, I think, for the health of our health system, that we have an effective opposition. Governments tend to want to only tell you the positive story about how great they've been doing, natural enough, but we do need an effective opposition in our system to step up and point out issues like ambulance ramping and so on, which are causing delays for treatment for people, causing actual real health outcomes that are unfortunate for members of our population. And having an opposition that's on the ball, particularly with a leader who's been in the shadow health portfolio for some time, can only be good for the health of West Australians. The ways that we have a control in COVID, of course, the effective ones in Australia have been border control and lockdown. And will be interesting to see this week what happens with our borders. Everyone's anticipating, I think, that the Victorian arrivals will no longer need to quarantine, which will be good news to a lot of people leading into a traditional, gathering time. And traditional gathering times around Christmas, end of year festivities are things that make public health people and people like myself very nervous. Lots of people coming together, reduced inhibitions, often a bit of alcohol. If there is virus, then it will spread. No question about it. That's what's happening in the US. That's what's devastating them through Thanksgiving, which is their bigger gathering holiday than Christmas. So unfortunately, the virus now well and truly out of control in that country and in many parts of Europe and the rest of the world. So we have to remain humble and respectful of this disease here. And if there's any sign of COVID around at Christmas, then we're going to have a different Christmas this year. But at the moment, it looks as though those borders probably will be relaxed more so that people can come in and catch up with loved ones. And of course, that is very important, particularly if they've been separated for a period of time. An interesting anomaly in South Australia where they had the outbreak involved with the pizza bar. They had a lockdown, then they didn't have a lockdown, showed a bit of immaturity of the system probably there. One interesting case of a 15-year-old who seems to have gotten the virus through just picking up a pizza from there. So we can see that there are circumstances when all of a sudden this disease will rear up and take off a lot like a bushfire does. So particularly in airborne circumstances, indoors, stagnant air, lots of people breathing, then you can expect that the disease will spread if there's someone who's infectious there. So although we've been good on the lockdowns and borders, the question is, what are we like once there is an outbreak? Well, we know that our health system can't cope. We know that aged care is hopeless at controlling it just because of the facility, the very challenging patients, and the fact that staff there are still able to move between several different jobs, and the government is not determined to change that at all. So aged care is a problem. Healthcare sector is a problem. Hospitals, as we saw in Victoria, need to shut down very quickly. Staff often cross-infecting one another through no fault of their own. Poor ventilation, poor PPE provided by the government. We're still having disputes with the federal group around what the PPE guidance and what the risk controls in the workplace should be. It's not just about them, it's also about the management of the hospitals who need to take responsibility for workplace safety. It's a workplace safety issue, not an infection control issue. And we know that our hospitals are not yet set up. We know no one in WA, for example, has had a fit tested respiratory mask done yet. So the answer is we fall back on lockdowns, on border controls and on contact tracing. And I'm fortunate this week to get a briefing from the people in charge of contact tracing for WA. Have to say I came away from that feeling a bit better than I did about the Victorian contact tracing system. I think we have a very modern, we have a good approach. It has been useful in assisting with those in other states, but that's very different to controlling a big outbreak in our own state. However, at least in theory, everything that's in place there seems to be pretty good. So if we do need to contact trace small, medium, large numbers of people, I think we've probably got one of the better systems around. But the idea that keeping this virus out of the community in the first place is better, that is still clearly the best strategy, and we certainly support the government in that respect. So going into the crazy Christmas season, hope that you all manage to stay safe in every other way, and that we manage to keep COVID out of our community. The news around the vaccines will be a bit of a roller coaster ride, but nevertheless positive, as we would expect it to be, that there will be something out next year, which isn't that far away now. So certainly worth doing everything we can to keep the coronavirus out of our community. And in the meantime, we'll keep agitating for improvements in the healthcare and aged care system. Good to see sewage testing, QR codes coming online, a little bit late, but virus isn't here yet, so hopefully we'll have all that up and running before we get an outbreak. Stay safe, and thanks for your time.
And that's all for this week. We'll be back with another episode of WP next time, but until then, it's back to you.
Thank you, Nelson. And that's our weekly news and current affairs. We have the latest news on our website and social media pages.
No matter where you're watching, we wish you good health and good night.
Take care.